All right, everybody, we are back for another deep dive. And, uh, we're always talking about like new parenting strategies, new things to try with your kids.
Here.
But honestly, sometimes it feels like there just aren't enough hours in the day,
Right.
between work and errands and,
Yeah.
all the stuff we have to do.
Absolutely.
Finding time for anything extra can feel impossible.
Yeah.
But I recently came across this parent guide that I think is so important, and it really got me thinking about the power of play.
I think that's a really important topic and one that's often overlooked.
Totally. And what's so cool about this guide is that it goes beyond just, like keeping kids entertained.
Mm.
It actually talks about how intentional play can have a huge impact on their behavior,
Yeah.
their emotional development, and even your relationship with them.
And it all starts with understanding that play is actually the primary way that children communicate.
Oh, really? So it's like their native language.
Exactly. So when you think about it like that, those crazy made-up words and imaginative games start to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, that actually explains a lot. Like I've always wondered like what's going on in those little heads.
Right.
But, I have to admit, like I used to think of playtime as kind of like a luxury, like something fun to do if we had extra time.
I think a lot of parents feel that way.
But this guide is making me rethink that whole idea. Like it actually compares playtime to things like nutrition and sleep.
It's really true. Think about it, when kids don't get enough nutritious food, we see the effects, right? They might be sluggish or irritable or have trouble concentrating.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing with play. When their need for play isn't met, it can also show up in their behavior.
That makes total sense. So it's not just about keeping them busy. It's about giving them something they actually need to thrive.
Absolutely. And the guide actually cites Dr. Stuart Brown, who's a play researcher, and he says that play is as essential to development as oxygen.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty powerful statement.
Mhm.
I'm definitely starting to see playtime in a whole new light. But, I'm still curious, like, what exactly are those benefits that we're talking about? What kind of tools does play give kids that they can use, not just now, but later on in life?
Well, for starters, play helps develop those crucial skills we all need, like problem solving, emotional regulation, and social skills.
Okay, those are all pretty important.
Right, exactly. And think about it, when kids are playing, they're constantly facing challenges and figuring out solutions, whether it's building a tower that won't fall over or negotiating roles in a pretend game.
And they're also learning how to deal with their emotions, like, if they lose a game or if someone takes their toy.
Exactly. Play provides a safe space for kids to experience a range of emotions and learn how to manage them in a healthy way.
And I guess it also gives them a chance to practice those all-important social skills, like sharing, taking turns, and cooperating.
Exactly. All those things that are essential for building healthy relationships and navigating the world around them.
Okay, so we've got the essential life skills covered, but the guide also talks about some pretty specific benefits. Like,
Hmm.
for example, it says that play can actually strengthen the parent-child bond.
Absolutely. And I think we've all experienced that firsthand. After you have a good play session with your child, things just feel easier. There's more connection and understanding.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that too. It's like those moments of shared laughter and silliness
Yeah.
create this special bond that you don't really get from other activities.
Exactly. And it makes sense when you're down on the floor building a fort or having a tickle fight.
Yeah.
You're creating shared memories and inside jokes and speaking their language.
Right. And those shared positive experiences create this foundation of trust and understanding.
Right.
And what are the whole, kids are calmer after playtime thing? Is that just them burning off energy or is there more to it?
Well, there's definitely the energy release factor. Kids have a lot of energy, and play gives them a healthy outlet for that. But it's also about emotional processing. Imagine a child who's had a frustrating day at school.
Hmm.
Through play, they can act out those feelings. Maybe they're the superhero conquering a villain, or they're building a giant tower and knocking it down.
So they're kind of like processing those emotions in a safe and healthy way.
Exactly. And that can help them feel calmer and more in control.
Okay, I'm totally on board with all of this. But let's be real here. Between work and chores and, just life in general, finding extra time to play can feel impossible.
I hear you. And that's a common concern that the guide addresses. It's not about hours and hours of play. Even dedicating 10 to 15 minutes a day to focused child-led play can make a world of difference.
Okay, that actually feels doable. But what does child-led play actually look like in practice? I mean, do I just, like, hand them a bunch of toys and walk away?
Not exactly. It's more about following their lead and letting go of the need to control the activity.
So if my kid wants to spend 15 minutes pretending to be a dinosaur, I should just roar along with them.
Exactly. Embrace their creativity. Let their imagination run wild. You might be surprised at how much you enjoy it.
I'll try to keep an open mind. But I have to admit, the thought of wearing a tutu and a crown made of construction paper is a little outside my comfort zone.
But that's the beauty of it. You get to tap into your inner child and let loose a little.
I'll work on it.
Good.
But, even if I'm fully present and engaged, how can I show my kids that I'm really paying attention to what they're doing?
The guide talks about the power of labeled praise. So instead of just saying good job, try something like, wow, you're so focused while building that tower. Or I love how you used all the colors in your drawing.
Okay, that's a great tip. It's so simple, but I can see how it would make a big difference.
It shows them that you're not just going through the motions, you're truly present and engaged in their world.
Okay, so we've talked about all the amazing benefits of play, but what happens when, despite our best efforts, playtime just doesn't happen? I mean, life gets in the way sometimes,
Yeah, right, of course. But the guide doesn't sugarcoat it. When children don't get enough play, they might exhibit more negative behaviors like tantrums, whining, defiance, acting out.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen that firsthand.
Right, and remember, they communicate through play, so when they're not getting that outlet, those unmet needs can manifest in other
So
ways.
it's like a warning light on the dashboard saying, hey, something's not quite right here.
Exactly.
And it's not just about behavior either, right? I mean, the guide also talks about how lack of play can affect the parent-child relationship.
Absolutely. When children don't feel heard through play, they might feel misunderstood or ignored, which can lead to communication struggles and frustration for both of you.
And that can create this negative cycle where, the more frustrated you get, the less likely you are to want to play with your child. And then they act out even more.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. It's amazing to think that something as simple as play can have such a profound impact on so many aspects of a child's life.
It really is. And I think this guide does a great job of highlighting just how important play is not just for kids, but for families as a whole.
I completely agree. Well, I don't know about you, but I am feeling inspired to go have some fun with my kids.
Me too.
So listeners, I challenge you to think back to your own childhood. What brought you joy? What were your favorite ways to play? Maybe it was building forts, drawing, playing dress up, or just run around outside.
It's a great way to reconnect with your inner child and bring some of that joy and spontaneity into your parenting.
Exactly. And who knows, you might even discover some hidden talents or interests that you can share with your kids.
Now that you've heard all about the power of play, we'd love to hear from you. What are some of your favorite ways to play with your kids? What activities light them up? What have you learned about their unique ways of communicating and connecting through play? Share your thoughts and experiences with us on social media or leave a comment on our website. We can't wait to hear from you.
And until next time, happy playing.
Happy playing.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.